Hi, my name is Katrina and thank you for joining me for this tutorial. We're going to be doing a short tutorial on short rows. That would be the plain version of short rows, German short rows, and the turn and wrap short rows. So I hope you find this helpful. If you do, please give me a thumbs up. If you are not subscribed to my channel, I do have a knitting podcast that posts every Saturday. And if you want to subscribe to that, just click the little red subscription button below and you'll get notifications anytime I post a video. So I hope you enjoy this tutorial. Alright, before we get started, I wanted to show you some examples of short rows and how they're used. Here is a sock, and with the sock, right here at the heel, in order to form the round part of the back of the heel, like at the base of your Achilles, right there is where the heel is formed with short rows. And if I open this up a little bit, you can see it. You can see the short rows right here and here. And if you look at the purple coloring, you can see where it gets wider on the edges here. Let me get this a little closer. There. You can see how it's formed an arch. The short rows also form a small pucker, which is where the base of this heel is. So that is one use of a short row. Another use is for shaping on shawls. So I'm going to show you, this is on the Spice Market, but because the colors I have, it really shows up very vividly. You can see, particularly in this row, you can see that the gray is single here. Then the stitches become double rows. And then by the time I get to the edge here, it's 3. It helps to form a wedge shaped because it gets wider as it goes across. And you can see that there are short rows progressively all the way up the edge of the shawl. And because of the color choices that I have, it shows up very well. So that is another use for shaping with short rows. Alright, now let's get into how to do short rows. There are 3 different types of, actually there's 4 different types that I'm aware of short rows. One is your standard short row, which is the one everyone's familiar with. It is simply you knit across part way and you turn and you knit back. And I'm going to demonstrate that to you. I'm actually going to use a different color yarn so it shows up more vividly. But one thing you will notice with this is what the back looks like. And you can see the difference in the stitches. You can see that here it's narrower, here it has gotten wider. So it has formed a wedge shape. But if you look close, you'll notice something else that's formed. It's formed holes right along the edges here. That's because you're just doing a turn. You're not filling in that hole. And I'll show you how that happens. And a lot of times just this type of a stitch is used for decorative reasons, because maybe in a shawl pattern or sweater pattern they want the holes along the side as well as forming the wedge shape. So let me do this in a white yarn so you'll be able to see the difference in color, or you'll be able to see the contrast difference with the stitches. All right. So we will go over to where we will begin just the knit across to where it tells us to turn, and then we turn and purl back. I'm doing all of these samples and examples for you in a stockinette stitch. Okay, here's where we would turn. We'll be at this next stitch. So in this case, you just simply knit it, you turn. Notice I haven't gone all the way across to the rest of these stitches. I'm just turning and I'm going to purl back. Now you can see this is where I've turned. Now this next time I'm just going to knit one more stitch out, and you'll see how this hole ends up being created. So let me just knit that real fast so you can see it. I'm now at the stitch that I turned, so I'm just going to knit that, and then I knit the next stitch, and this would then be turned. But as you can see, there is the hole that's been formed right there. See if I can get it a little better for you. Right here is the hole. So you can see that it's forming a curve, and you know, like I said, it does do the job, but it does leave a hole in your pattern, which is fine if you want that to be like that, but if you don't, that doesn't work so well. So that's one method. Next, I'm going to show you the German short row, which kind of fills in these holes a little bit more. So let me demonstrate with that. Okay, this is the German short row. And you can see again, we've got the narrow edge here, and it's gotten wider. It still does have a little bit of holes here, but it's minimal compared to what the other one was. The other one almost looks like eyelet. So let me show you how to do a German short row. It's very, very simple, very similar to the other, with one major difference. So let me attach my other yarn, and I'll show you how to do it. Okay, we now have our white yarn attached. I'm going to knit over to where I'm going to start my short row. Okay, we have one more stitch to go right here. Okay, I am at the stitch that I'm going to form my short row. I'm going to knit this stitch, and then I'm going to turn just like I did before. But here's the difference. I'm going to take this yarn, I'm going to pull it. I'm going to slip it over to this needle first. Then I'm going to pull it so that the legs of the stitch right here with the blue, that's why I did this in two colors so you could see it really well. I'm going to pull this so that the white is now in the back, and the blue looks like it has two legs. You can see the two right here. Then, because I'm doing this in stockinette and this is a purl row, I'm going to bring my yarn back around front and purl back to the end. Okay, let me turn this. Here is my pulled stitch. You can see it's kind of lifted up, and you can see the two legs. Oops, here we go. It's pulled up, and here are the two little legs right there. So now I'm on a knit row, so I'm going to knit across. Until I get to that stitch. Okay, I am at that stitch right now. Now, I'm not going to go here. Remember the two legs that were pulled over. I'm actually going to go in those two legs. It's going to be a knit like knit 2 stitches together. You're just going to pull right up between them. You're going to knit that stitch, pull it snugly, and there it is now on your needle. You can see it right in the back here. So I will do that again for you. Let's say this next stitch is going to be our German short row stitch. We're going to knit this stitch, turn it, take our yarn past the, you're going to go in purlwise, pass the stitch to your right needle, take the yarn from the front and literally lift it right around to the back so that it pulls the legs up on the stitch. So here's your double stitches again. You're going to wrap this back around front so that you can continue to purl, and you're going to purl back. You want to make sure to keep it snug when you do the turn, otherwise you will have a hole because you don't have your tension right. Okay, here's what it looks like from the back. You can see the stitch right here. We're going to turn it back around. There is our double stitch, and I'm going to knit it. Okay, we are once again to the stitch. You can see the double legs on it right here, right there. You're not going to go into this white part, you're going to go into these double stitches, and you're just going to do a knit 2 together. So we bring it up, knit it, and there you go. And as you can see, it does leave a little bit of a hole, but nowhere near what the other one did. So that is a German short row. And now I'm going to demonstrate the wrap and turn version of a short row. There is a Japanese style of a short row, but it's a lot more involved. So we will go to the wrap and turn, which is what you normally use on sock patterns. We're now going to show the wrap and turn method. Now I've already knit across to where my short row is going to begin. Okay, these are the stitches that have been knit. This next stitch is going to be the one I'm going to wrap and turn. So what you're going to do, you are going to take your yarn that you're working with, you're going to move it to the front just like you were going to purl. You're going to pull it to the front like this. You're going to purlwise slip this stitch onto your right needle. You're basically lassoing the stitch that you're going to wrap. You're going to bring this yarn around that stitch. So you can see it's now lassoed in the front. You're going to turn your work. You're going to slip this stitch back onto the right side again. So it's back on the side where the unknit stitches are. But you've got thread, you've got your yarn running through between the 2 stitches here. Now you want to make sure you hold this snugly, but not too tightly, just snugly. And you're going to purl back the rest of the row. You're actually not knitting that wrapped stitch on this row. You're going to do it the next time through. You simply are wrapping it on the one row, and the second row you pick it back up. Okay, Let me show you where it's at this point. Here's the wrap stitch. And because I did it in two colors, you can see it right there. It's wrapped on the front and it's wrapped on the back right there. When I come back on this next row, I'll knit to that edge and then I'll show you what to do with it. I like this one the best, I think. This is my favorite of the short rows, just because it's kind of fun and I think it gives a nice edge to it. I'll show you the back when I finish. But it's almost impossible to see unless, I mean, you'll see it because I'm doing this with two colors, but otherwise you would not really even notice it. Okay. I am at the wrapped stitch. Here it is, right there. What I'm going to do, I'm going to once again slip the stitch purlwise, which means I'm going in through the front purlwise, and now I'm going to pick up that loop and I'm just going to scoop it up and I'm going to add that to that stitch. Then I'm going to pass both of those loops back to the left side. So they kind of crisscross by doing this. You can see that now the white is on the left side, the blue is on the right. And I'm going to knit the two stitches together, just like a knit together stitch would be. And there it is. And you just pull it snugly. And as you can see, I've done the increase and there's absolutely no loop at all, no hole at all. So let me demonstrate that one again. Let's do the next stitch over as if it's going to be, let me go 2 stitches down, as if it's going to be a wrapped stitch. Again, we'll say it's this stitch that's going to be wrapped. I'm going to move the yarn forward as if I'm going to purl. I'm going to slip the stitch on the left to the right stitch, lasso the stitch, basically wrap it around it, and bring your yarn to the back, turn your work, and slip that stitch right back onto the unknit stitches so that your yarn you were working with is actually moving behind that stitch. You can see the white yarn behind, not in front, but behind. Then I'm going to knit back. In this case, I'm going to be purling back because I'm on the purl side. So I have not knit the wrapped stitch. Like I said, it gets knit on the next row. So I'm going to go to the end. There we go. We're going to turn. Now we'll go back up to where that stitch is that we're going to capture this time. Okay, here we are at that captured stitch, and you can see it very clearly. The white is wrapped around it, but it hasn't been knit. I'm going to slip that stitch over to my right side, and then I'm going to pick up the loop that it formed, and I'm going to put that also on the side. So see how they're crisscrossed right here? They've kind of formed an X. Now I'm going to slip both of these stitches to the left side, so there's still like a little X. My blue is on the right, the white is on the left, and I'm going to go through both of those stitches as if I'm going to knit, and just pull it snugly, and there we go. And so this one, you can just barely see a few little spots right along in here, but it's not something that really stands out a whole lot. And I think the back looks very nice. Let me show you what it ends up looking like. This is where you can see where the wrapped stitches are, is the back. See it right here, 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 and here, and then of course up in here. But they create minimal holes, and these, like I said, this is my favorite one to do. And this is the stitch that you more than likely will use on socks at the heel.